Hello folks, welcome back to GingerLion's modded Minecraft Let's Play. This is episode 12. Last time I managed to get my base constructed and showed you guys some of the lighting process. One of the things that I did was started deciding that since all the floors look very similar, I carved some numbers into the walls in all four directions so that I can tell where I'm at. I also ran into a little bit of a problem, as you can see. I started getting a lot of slime spawning because if you take a look at the map and change the overlay into slimes, I have 3 slime chunks in my base. So, I need to figure out a way of solving that problem. The thing is, slimes spawn regardless of light level. So the only block that I can think of to solve this problem is a thing called the magnum torch. Let me show you really quickly how I make one. The first thing that I need in the process is a brewing stand, because we need to do just a little bit of potion brewing. So let me start with this, and that will get us a brewing stand. And in the process of potion brewing, I'm going to need some bottles of water. To do that, I need some glass, which I don't have in my inventory right now, but I'm sure I have in one of these chests up here. Apparently not in any of those, nor there. That's some clear glass. Let me look at bottles. The glass bottle can be made with heat glass and soul glass, and with clear glass. Good, that's what I needed. So let me make myself a couple of bottles. I'm going to need at least 2, and that makes me 3, so that's just fine. And so I need a good place to get water from. So it's time for another infinite water source. This one I'm going to make in the wall right over here, just because it's then easy for me to get to. I've got 2 buckets. Here we go. 1 and 2. Now fill these 3 buckets with water. Now, the first thing that I need to make the magnum torch, as you see in this recipe, it needs a potion of healing, instant health 2, and a potion of regeneration 2. These recipes are, I have to use glowstone dust on a potion of regeneration, which means I have to use a gas tear on a awkward potion, which means I need to use a nether wart on a water, and same over here, glowstone on a potion of healing, glistening melon on an awkward potion. I'll show you how to make this in just a second, and back to that awkward potion. And that glistering melon, you take a melon slice and surround it by gold nuggets. So I'm going to go ahead and make all of those potions, and then I'll come back to you. Hello folks, and so I have myself a potion of healing and a potion of regeneration. So let me go take a look at what else is needed to make this. I need 5 chandeliers. To make chandeliers, I need gold ingots, diamonds, and torches. I want to make 5. There's 5 of them. Pretty expensive recipe. And finally, it takes some blocks of wood, which I think the cherry wood blocks that I have should work just fine. Let me put them in here. And which one goes here? This is the regeneration 2, and this is instant health 2. Ooh, I only have regeneration 1. What did I skip for a step? Regeneration 1 needs to be put in with a glowstone dust. So you guys get to watch this last step occur on camera. Healing 2, regeneration 2. That's what I need. Just a moment. Tick, 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 tick. I hate wasting time on camera, but I didn't think you guys need another jump cut just because I forgot some important stuff. There's our potion of regeneration 2, and that's probably why when I shift-clicked on this, it didn't work. No, it still didn't work. Let's find out what's going on. Maybe this type of wood won't work. We'll find out. There's the magnum torch. So now, the magnum torch is a special kind of torch. It doesn't produce light. It does, but not a huge amount. What it does do is it completely blocks all monster spawning in an area of 128 blocks in a circle. In other words, 64 blocks in every direction from the torch, and 32 blocks up and down. That's 16 each direction. And so what I'd really like to do is reserve my bottom neighborhood for down there, area 1, which you can't see because it's too dark down by bedrock. And I would really like, if I not have the problem of slime spawning up here. Now, my understanding is that they only spawn in areas 40 and below. And my torch hits an area of 32 blocks. And so if I want to remove this entire neighborhood, I need to put it at 34? No, 24. I need to put it at block level 24. Now, I think I'd like to center it right here, right in my elevator stack, because I'm not going to put much in my elevator stack. So this is level 21. That's 22, 23. That means that this should, I'm so used to bat form that I just try to fly. This should fit here. And if I'm correct, nope, unfortunately it requires a block to be sitting on. What are my options here? I guess I'm going to offset this by 1 from center, which is fine. My area is not 164 square, certainly not 128 square. And I'm actually going to put it up just 1 higher than it calls for. So let's put the magnum torch there. And I'm going to remove this and this and that. Now, that's sort of floating in the air. And I will probably relatively soon figure out a better way to place that. But what that means is that for at least 16 blocks below it, which should go down 10 blocks to here, just fine. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, perfect. This whole area is now a no spawn area. This whole area is a no spawn area, and this floor is a no spawn area once I come over here and kill these guys. So now, even though slimes can spawn in any light level, they now can't spawn inside the area of the magnum torch. What that means is I now have a safe base, even from slimes that can theoretically spawn anywhere. I'm going to stop using my pickaxe to attack these guys, because if you'll notice, it very rapidly makes gigantic holes in my floor. Okay, there we go, folks. So now I have protected this area, and given how relatively easy magnum torch creation was, I think I'm going to go make another one and put it, maybe not directly on top of my house, but maybe down here, somewhere on this level. Yeah, I think down here is great. Somewhere on this level, I'm going to make a magnum torch, and I'm going to put it out probably in a pretty display case of some kind. And that's going to just basically guarantee that anywhere particularly close to my house, I don't really have to worry about monster spawning. It's a useful block, and given my proclivities of liking to hunt when I want to hunt, but otherwise not wanting to, I think it's a great idea. So after I do that, I'm going to figure out what's next, probably my sorting system, and I'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. So, I spent a chunk of time after putting up that torch, and put a chunk of work into my logistics piping system. First of all, I set up all of these down here. I decided that sand and saltpeter were good things to put in barrels. I connected my logistics sorting system upstairs to my chests. I installed an ender chest, and I did something a little unusual to it. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me break that and take these out of my hand. What I did is I set up all of these extractor pipes to ignore a list of items. Those include my wrench, all of my tools, torches, and bread. And then I set up this to attempt to keep 64 bread, 64 torches, and all of my tools in this box. And what happens? Well, since my tools aren't in the inventory, what it does is it keeps 64 bread and 64 torches in my inventory here. And if I were to toss my tools in somewhere, they'd get sucked to the ender chest. I'll show you why I'm doing that in a little bit, but first I want to show you this. So I haven't shown you the pulverizer. Let me show you the recipe. The pulverizer, copper ingots, flint, a piston, and the machine frames and redstone reception coil that I already showed you guys. And what it does is it pulverizes all sorts of things, but mostly what it does is it pulverizes ores, and once they're pulverized, you get two. For example, if I show uses of iron ore, and I show the pulverizer, it's going to make 2 pulverized iron, and it's got a 10% chance of making some pulverized ferrous metal. What do these do? Well, if you can combine them in various recipes, for example, to make Invar. We have other ways of doing that. But if you smelt each one of these piles of dust, you get an ingot. So effectively, for every ore you toss in, you're guaranteed to get 2 iron ingots, and you might get 1 ferrous metal ingot, which is a very useful thing. So, now, I've got this system set up in an unusual way, and I'm going to switch into bat form so that I can show you exactly what it is that I have configured. And let me eat a piece of bread, because I don't like having my health be low. So, what I've got this thing configured as is this. This is an ore-dict item sync module. Recipe is a book over a mod-based item sync module, which is a gold gear over an item sync module, which is green cactus, the iron gear, and the blank module. What this does is this. I can tell it gold, silver, lead, iron, copper, tin. Theoretically, if I look over here, iron, gold, I could put coal in here and pulverize it, but that doesn't gain me any advantage. Obsidian I can pulverize and will later to make hardened glass, but I can't, it's not useful in this system. Let's see, tin, silver, lead, ferrous metal, and shiny metal, both I'm operating in a different way. So, what this does is any ore, regardless of whether it was, for example, let me type in copper ore. You'll note there's a copper ore from Calclavia core. There's a copper ore from Forestry for Minecraft. There's a copper ore from Tinker's Construct. There's a copper ore from Thermal Expansion. If I didn't use this dictionary, I would get one of those, but I might find in the world any of the other 3, and they wouldn't get added to my system. I'd like them all added to my system. So, this will pull all ores of all of these types into this chest. This chest is set up using item ducts to pull out. I've got a lever back there powering it, and then dump into any one of these that it possibly can. What these are set up to do is pull in from the top, pulverize, and push all of it out from the bottom. Now, if I were, for example, trying to pulverize obsidian, that would not be useful to me. But since I'm only trying to handle the various ores, it is useful. Feeds it into this furnace, which immediately cooks it and sends it back into the network. Now, let me go upstairs and show you. It's a little complicated up there, so don't be too concerned. There are lots of tutorials online and other people who can show you how to do this, and I'll probably walk through all of this again. So, first of all, I have what I call my overflow chest. I'm about to change what's in it, but what it's designed to do is it has a quicksort module in it. The recipe for the quicksort module is a diamond gear. It was quite expensive, so I hardly ever used them. and blue dye, and what it does is it looks through this inventory constantly, and if it finds anything in this inventory that should be somewhere else in the network, it sends it there. And I also have this set up with an item sync module as the default route. What that means is anything that gets tossed in the inventory, for example in that ender chest downstairs, will get pushed out. If there's somewhere good for it to go, for example, into one of the barrels, or into my ore smelting machine, or any number of other places, any one of these chests that I have set up, it will send them there. For example, this is set up with that mod-based item sync, and it's got buildcraft, den pipes, additional buildcraft. Basically, it's got all of this pipe-related thing, and all the buildcraft stuff all gets sent right here. So if I, for example, take this and toss in a basic logistic pipe, when the quick start module, which sort of scans through block, when it gets through to here, it'll take it a couple of seconds, that pipe will disappear. Where will it disappear to? Well, it'll get shot into the system and sent over to that chest over there, because that's its natural home. Come on. In fact, I can toss all the rest of this stuff in here too, because I just got done finishing setting this system up the way that I want it to. Is there a problem in the network? Nope, there it went. And there those went. And they all immediately get tossed in here, because this is where they're supposed to go. Because this item sync module, which is set up for mods, recognizes them as having come from that mod and puts them there. Now, each one of these is also set up with a provider module, set up to exclude things in this list, which is nothing, and set up to normal inventory, because this is a mod-based item sync. All the items are still going to be in this mod, even if I take them out and put them back, so it's irrelevant. This block over here, for example, just a moment, is set up with a polymorphic item sync. What that means is, again, if you find it in this chest, then it's a safe place to put it, so you can put it back in this chest later. But for that to work correctly, there has to be an item of that type in the chest. And so, I've set up the pipe down here to leave one item per type. So, each one of these is configured in various ways. For example, this one is for Mine Factory Reloaded, Thermal Expansion, Industrial Craft 2, and Factorization. This is probably my most complicated pipe. I had to put a logistics chassis Mark V, took a lot of resources to build, in here because I'm getting all of the blocks and ingots of electrum and gold and silver and steel and nickel and derium. All of the various blocks that I might find myself with are all going to end up in here. That's where my ore goes. And then I've got a couple of mods here, and a couple of chests that are just sort of randomly configured. These are too full by my standards, which is why, just as I was preparing here, I created these chests. And I've already got all of these set up to be polymorphic and provider moduled, so I'm going to put a couple of chests down. Those will become places that I can put more stuff. And I'm tired of my overflow chest being so full of things, so I'm going to pick it up with the gravity gun and put it down over here. Now, it's still full of junk. Let's see. I guess I can't turn this around with a wrench. That's too bad. Let me see if I can use the gravity gun to turn that block around. Let's see. Got to be a way to do this, right? I don't want that block. I want that block. Nope, it looks like no matter what, it wants to face that way. Well, I'll just have to, instead of putting it there, I will break this. Do I have my pickaxe? I do. That'll make it faster. And use the gravity gun to pick it up and put it down there, so it's now facing the right way. That was purely an aesthetic decision, but a lot of things that I do are based on aesthetics. So this still has a collection of sort of random stuff in it, but at least my overflow chest, which is where anything that I don't know what to do with is going to end up, is not. Now, I've got torches in here. I don't need them. I've got glass. I don't need it. It's going to immediately pull this stuff out. Now, I want to show you. Okay, so let me get rid of these iron ingots and these silver ingots and this block of iron and these chests. I don't need them. The silver chest, an ender pearl. It's nice to just be able to throw things in this chest and know that if there's a place to put them, they'll go somewhere. So these didn't go somewhere. Well, that's probably because nothing out here has a chest in it. So let's put chests in here. Well, silver and iron. That sounds good. Now this is going to, at some point, recognize that they're no longer needed there and move them over here. Now I have 45 chests and 8 silver chests. Perfect. Now, I wanted to show you how the ore processing system works in action, so I kept these ores out. So let's toss these in. They immediately get recognized as something that needs to go somewhere, and see them in the pipes there? They're being sent down to this box. And now each one of these is going to light up as the duct system goes ahead and adds the requisite, in this case iron, in this case copper, and now some iron over here, and this is probably about to get some iron as well, and that grinds them up. They get pulverized. So you can see them getting pulverized here, and that produces dust. Pulverized dust, which gets sent to the furnace, which cooks them, which immediately sends them back up. That means that if I go mining and put things in this ender chest, they'll end up getting sorted into the system. If I set up another quarry and it feeds things into the system, they'll automatically end up there, along with all of the redstone going where it's supposed to and all of the coal going where it's supposed to. Now, I do want to show you that when I set up this terminus module, there are only 3 things that I have terminated. I have dirt, gravel, and cobblestone. That means, for example, if I fill this barrel of redstone, it's not going to throw out the extras. The only things it's going to throw out are these 3, which I feel like are justified. What it's going to do with the extras, if there's no room in that barrel, it's going to send them to the default route, which means that this chest will begin filling up with redstone. So, that's how I have my system set up so far. I'm not 1,000% happy with it, but I'm going to live with it for a little while and adapt to it, get used to some things, try out some more stuff. I have another system that I intend to make, but the next thing that I really want is an ender pouch. Now, this requires some leather, which up till now is why I haven't made this. I don't like killing cows. I told you before that my girlfriend really doesn't like it when I kill animals. I'm going to apologize to her right now that the next thing that I'm going to have to do is go out and do a little cow hunting. I have blaze powder, I have wool, I have ender pearl. Those are all fine. But unfortunately, I need some wool. And just for her tender sensitivities, I'm going to go and do that off camera. I'll be right back once I can make that ender pouch and show you why it's so wonderful. Hi folks. So, went out and did a little bit of hunting. One of the advantages of using a sword that has looting 3 attached to it is you get a lot more materials from your kills than you would otherwise. Now, one of the advantages of having these furnaces available, they're not in use all the time. They cook pretty quickly, and they do it without the need whatsoever of coal or any other smeltable, because effectively they're all running on this lava being piped in from the nether. So, I'm going to go ahead and toss my food in here for baking purposes, because I took a quick stop by the local village and cleared out their fields, which I hadn't done in a while. But since I was running low on food, I figured it made perfect sense. I'm going to just go toss all this stuff in the furnaces. That way I will have food when the time comes. Some point soon I'm going to have to set that up for myself instead of just being busy taking things from the local villagers. Oh, I got a poisonous potato. There's for a grin powder. I can macerate it into grin powder, which has no specific uses for it. I'm just going to destroy this poisonous potato. I could theoretically just put it in there, but that's fine. Now, I had myself the goal of making this ender chest. Now it's going to take some wool, some leather, some ender, some blaze powder, and I would like to make it pattern black, black, black. The reason is this: ender pouches and ender chests are linked. So if you have an ender pouch and an ender chest with the exact same color scheme, then you can go ahead and put things in the chest and they will show up in the bag, and vice versa. So let's see. Blaze powder, got a whole bunch. Recipe, again, blaze powder, leather, wool, and make them. I'm going to make as many as I can. That's going to be 3. These are going to be very useful for all sorts of purposes. Now, the first thing that I'd like to do is link this one with this ender chest. So you shift and right click. You'll notice now it's black, black, black. And if I open it up, there is my torch and my food. So what happens if I toss stuff in here? Well, it immediately gets sorted into my sorting system. Bang! Off it goes. All of this stuff. Off it goes. These ender pouches, they'll disappear. This blaze powder will disappear. My tools won't. My bread won't. That means that I can use this pouch both as a generic storage system, so that I don't have to carry around so much stuff, as a place to keep things, so that if I die somehow, those things that are in there don't get lost. They're still in the black, black, black pouch. I may lose the black, black, black pouch, but that doesn't matter. I make a new one, I put black, black, black on it, and it'll open up to do this same thing. I can also get those things just by coming down to this chest and opening it, and finally, I can use it so that if I go, for example, collecting all sorts of resources, I just toss them in here, and when I come home, they're here in my base. Now, there is one caveat to that. Remember we talked earlier about chunk loading? Well, when I'm not at my base, it doesn't load. So I need to make myself a chunk loader for my base. That's going to be a book, some obsidian, a diamond. These are all relatively easy things for me to get. I know that I have a whole bunch of paper making around here. Relatively soon. Next episode. Next episode, I intend to make one more block to attach to the logistics sorting system, which will make it less annoying for me to work with. So I need this, and probably in here is my stakes. No, where did the leather go? Probably in mob drops? No, I don't see any leather in there. Let's see if I can figure out where it went to. Or did I use it all up? I must have used it all up. What's the recipe for a book? Leather. Well, I have another option. It's nighttime, so I'm going to sleep. And then I'm going to do something that I didn't do before because my conscience says it's just a little bit rude. It's a matter of opinion. Exactly. Is it rude to walk into the house of a person and destroy their bookshelves? Why, yes, it is. Is it rude to walk into the house of a artificial electronic construct that doesn't know anything? You have to understand, folks. The testificates, as they were originally called when they were in testing, the villagers, what they consider their house is a door. Literally anything but the door, they don't even notice. If you remove from their house the door, they don't have a house anymore and they don't know what to do. If you remove from their house everything else, including the walls, they don't notice. So, like I said, I feel like it's potentially a little bit rude to come into this guy's house right here and destroy these bookshelves. I wish I had something better than my lumber axe, which unfortunately will probably destroy this entire house in the process of just removing these bookshelves. But either way, I need these books because it saves me from having to kill cows, and I don't want to have to kill any more cows than I absolutely have to. So, There we are. Now I have some books so that I can go make that chunk loader. This, for me, is the last thing that I need to make at my base so that it is truly functional and I can move on to other projects. I can move on to getting more ores, etc. I need a chunk loader around here so that while I'm away, all of these devices still function. In other words, I would like, when I leave and use this ender chest, this ender pouch that I just made, I'd like when I use this for it actually to be connected to a sorting machine. But if I'm more than 10 chunks away, this area isn't loaded. So while I can put things into that ender chest and take them out of the ender chest, the machine that I've built here at the house to interact with that ender chest doesn't work. And so a lot of the functionality of that ender chest, a lot of the, for example, my pleasure that it will put in torches and it will put in food if I don't have it, a lot of that becomes no longer useful because it's not actually going to do that because it's unloaded. Well, that's why I'm going to build this chunk loader. So let me look at the recipe again. First I need an enchantment table. That's some diamonds, some... There. Now, I'm going to make 2 of these because I'm probably going to need a chunk loader later. Now, what's the recipe from here? Ender pearl and gold. Now that I smelted up all of my ores, I have lots of gold, which is nice. I have enough gold that I'm storing it in blocks instead of in ingots. And then ender pearls, which are going to be in mob drops. There's some ender pearls. So let's go ahead and finish this recipe. There we are, folks. We now have a chunk loader. I'm going to take my chunk loader down. Let's see, I don't want it on this floor or this floor. Here, why don't I put it right here underneath my magnum torch. And I'm going to set the chunk loader like that. Now, if you'll notice, all that goes outside the map, outside of my building. If I look on the map and go loaded chunks, the blue area is force loaded by my chunk loader. Well, I don't need it to be quite that big, so let me cut it down by 1 and take a look again on the map. I thought I said 1. That is a 2-chunk square. That's what this says. It's square, and that means that the 9 chunks that my house are on, with looks like the minor exception of if I turn left, these blocks right along this wall are outside the laser boundary. And that's not okay because, if I'm correct, no, I haven't built anything along that wall yet, but I may very well. And all it really costs is a little bit of processor time. So now, looking at the map, that square is expanded. All that area around my house, from the edge of the desert, halfway to my old cave, a little bit into the cherry grove, are all going to be loaded all the time. There we go, folks. Now I have a base that has machinery in it that's useful to me, that operates even when I'm gone, that I can interface with as simply as this, that I can just go ahead and, toss these things back into the sorting machine, and they will be fired off into my storage chests up above. So, I can even do that with these books. As a note, one thing that you generally do not want to do, but can, having opened up the ender pouch, you can pick the ender pouch up and toss it in there, and then you don't have access to the ender pouch. I mean, all that really means is I have to go home and go into my overflow chest and find my ender pouch, which isn't so horrible a thing, but it's still something that you should be aware of. If you set up a system like this, know that your ender pouch, if you toss it in your ender pouch, then you may very well have lost it. So, there we are, folks. I think I have my base set up well, and tomorrow I'm going to start with a new mining machine. I hope to see you then.